Hello, beautiful souls, and welcome back to Rise and Shine. This has been a four-part video series over the course of October. So here we are, our final Sunday in October, and our fourth message around the concept of Rise and Shine. So first, just a bit of a recap. The first Sunday we came together, we talked about, are you willing? Are you willing to rise? Are you willing to get back up? Hi, Mary Rose. This year has certainly felt like for many of us we've fallen, or for many of us, life has knocked us to our knees. And so the first question is, can you feel that sensation of, you know what, I'm worth it and life is worth it. And I'm willing to do what's necessary to get back up. So first thing we talked about the miracle of life and that it's a gift, and it truly is. And then the second week, we talked a bit about, is it possible to rise and actually be stronger for our efforts? Not only stronger, physically, mentally, but also more loving, more compassionate, all because of our amazing human ability to adapt. So we get a challenge thrown at us. It's uncomfortable. But we persevere to the other side of it. We're stronger for our efforts. We have that ability to adapt as humans, and it's amazing. So yes, we can not only rise out of this and above this, but we can do so in a way that allows us to become more stronger, more loving, more compassionate, more connected to each other, having more unity. So yes. And then last Sunday, we talked about some important questions that we need to ask ourselves on a regular basis to help us shift from being on autopilot. We tend to live so much of our life just on autopilot, not really taking the time to shift from autopilot to manual, to really consider what's my perspective here? How am I looking at this? Because where your focus goes, your energy flows, right? And so how you're looking at something at any given situation, any given circumstance, any given person, that is going to color your experience. And so we talked about, whenever we feel any kind of sensation, the first step is to catch yourself, right? To become aware when you're feeling the negative feelings, and start to ask yourself questions. And the first one is, am I focusing on what I have or what I don't have? Meaning, am I coming from a place of abundance or a place of lack? Am I focusing on what I can control or what I can't control? It's a big difference, because when you focus on what you can control, that elicits confidence, that creates empowerment. But when all you're focused is on are the things in life that you can't control, that creates fear, for sure. And then finally, we talked about being focused on past, present, or future. And we decided you want to be focused on the past enough to learn from it, and the present enough to be realistic about what's going on, and determining, with the power you have in this present moment, how you can use your perspective to make positive steps forward. And then looking at the future with anticipation, consciously choosing to look forward at all the wonderful things that could happen, instead of looking forward at uncertainty, in the sense of, from the framework of fear of, like, oh no, what if this happens? What if this terrible thing happens? What if this terrible thing happens? But instead, looking to the future with positive anticipation for what's to come, for the possibilities that may unfold and such. So we have to remember how powerful our perspective, our thoughts, and our focus are. It is unique to the human experience, and especially in times of stress and in times of chronic stress, which this level of long-term uncertainty can create for us. We have to recognize, that can wreak havoc. That can wreak havoc on your life, emotionally, physically, your health. And so we have to be able to learn how we can kind of take our power back on that, which is something we uniquely as humans can do. It's really interesting, the power of our thoughts. Just think about this for a second. Think of an antelope grazing in a field. Lion on the hunt. Antelope recognizes the lion, it's a threat, fires up its system to be able to flee. That fight or flight turns on. The antelope flees, the lion chases. Let's say the antelope gets away. The threat is no longer there. Within minutes, the antelope is grazing in a field again with no worries, just grazing in the field again. See, we as humans, we're the only species that can keep a threat alive just through the power of our own thoughts. Because if we were the antelope, we would be thinking, oh no, where's the lion? Or like, oh, that was so close, I could have died. And what if he comes back? And what should I do? Maybe I should hide. And we'd start twirling all these thoughts around in our head to keep the threat alive, which keeps the stressor in place, which is then over time what can wreak such havoc. And so there's a quote I wanted to share. This is from Theodore Vail. He was a former president of AT&T. He said, "Real difficulties can be overcome. It is only the imaginary ones that are unconquerable." So it's the stress that we create in our mind based on the perspective that we put. Because so often it's not, regardless of how challenging the circumstances are, it's not the circumstances that are creating the stressor within us. It is the meaning that we put to the circumstances. It's how we're choosing to view the circumstances. And so we need to understand that although our brain will generally go into that fight or flight, will go into survival mode, right? That's where, like I said last week, it becomes this battle between our conditioning and our consciousness. So we can allow our consciousness to rise up. We can consciously choose, to see things differently. And I think it's really important to recognize in a season like this, where there's such a long-term level of uncertainty, as I mentioned, that we recognize the stress for what it is and where it's coming from, so that we can gain better awareness and consider the fact that the negative feelings are not necessarily a result of the circumstances themselves as much as they are a result of, again, the meaning that we're placing on the situation, on the circumstances. As in every situation we find ourselves in, there's that underlying voice asking, okay, what is this? What does this mean to me? Right? Okay, so on our final message here, the question becomes, now what? Right? So we've talked about so many things up to this point. Now what? Well, I've noticed first and foremost that when you can better become aware, just be aware of the things that trigger you, be aware of the habits that you have in place that are not serving you. Just be aware of when your mind goes down that kind of negative path, just awareness, the willingness to kind of catch yourself on autopilot and then make the shift. That's such a big thing, because then you can incorporate new habits and practices that will allow you to shift. It's a practice, I think most of life is. And so it's a way of incorporating practices and habits to start conditioning yourself mentally, emotionally in a new way. Now, what I've noticed, particularly over these last several months, so I will just continue to use this pandemic as the backdrop, but I've really noticed 4 mindsets. And notice I'm very purposely using the word mindset, not people. It's not that I've noticed 4 types of people. I've noticed 4 types of mindsets. The first one is blind optimism. Virus is no big deal. I mean, there's viruses all the time. It's going to go away. Everything's going to be fine. It's going to go back to the way it was. It's the blind optimist. But then you also have the inconsolable pessimist. This is awful. This is the worst thing that's ever happened. Look how it's changed our lives. Look at all the people that have died. Things will probably never be okay again. Then you have what I call the transparent indifference. This is just a straightforward, whatever. I don't care. I'm just going to go about my life. If I get it, I get it. If I don't, I don't. If I go out and I have it, my neighbor gets it, oh well. It's that indifference. But then I've also come across what I call the optimist realism. The optimist realism. This perspective, this mindset says, okay, there is a virus. It is real. It is global, which is why it's been labeled a pandemic. normalcy, jobs, lives have been lost. And it's okay to mourn those losses. But we have to remember two things. One, we are not powerless. And then based on that, we need to take action. We need to do what's necessary to keep our mindset strong, our perspective strong, moving us in the right direction, and then do whatever we need to do to overcome this challenge and to create possibilities for a future that allows us to move forward in a positive way. We have that within our power, especially if we come together on this. So when I think about blind optimism and inconsolable pessimism and transparent indifference and optimistic realism, the fact is, these are not types of people, these are mindsets. Okay. Now, granted, there may be a tendency based on, some percentage our DNA, but a greater percentage, how we were raised, how we were conditioned, what we've been taught our whole lives. There will be a tendency to lean in one of those directions, an absolute tendency. I completely get it and I agree. But ultimately, we get to choose our mindset, which means even if it's a mindset that you have had on this life, a perspective that you have had on this life for the last 50 years, you can still shift it. If you can consciously recognize it's no longer serving you, you can shift. So, my invitation for you today is to explore the idea of optimistic realism, because that's where the power is. That's where the power is to pave a path into your future in a positive way. So I want to share with you just 4 things that I really encourage you to do in this kind of now what moment, in this how do we move forward moment. One, because we're in this season where there is all the uncertainty and that can trigger, fear and doubt and worry and anxiety, that every day you incorporate even just a 5-minute, what I call a presence practice, just 5 minutes to turn on your parasympathetic nervous system. Your parasympathetic nervous system is the calming system that allows you to kind of turn off that fight or flight, the ability to calm even when there's stressors present, or to reduce the power of that stressor in your life. Easiest thing, deep diaphragmatic breaths, just deep breaths. Can it be other things? Absolutely. Can it be a walk in nature, listening to some favorite uplifting music? But at least 5 minutes a day, shift yourself into that parasympathetic nervous system. And what you do, it's cumulative. I promise you, it builds over time. What you're doing, whether you realize it or not, is you're training yourself. You're training yourself and conditioning yourself to be able to access that sense of calm more easily. So, daily presence practice. And then the next thing, number 2, I really encourage you to go general with your thoughts. Instead of getting into the weeds of anxiety and worry and what if this happens and this has happened and I'm experiencing this and that, all the stuff that can take us down the rabbit hole, step back, go a bit more general and say, you know what? All is well. Everything's going to be okay. My entire life, everything that has been thrown at me sitting here right now is proof that I have persevered, that I have overcome every challenge. I am still here. And in the words of the amazing Gabrielle Bernstein, the universe has my back. Just seeming to step back and go general a bit to try to diffuse the momentum of the negativity. And then I highly, highly encourage you to connect with others. Now is the time more than ever, especially in this moment of physical distancing, to find ways to be socially connected, be it family, friends, neighbors. So it could be community in person, maybe meeting I think I got muted. That was like an automatic muting. I think my ex-husband snuck in when I wasn't looking. So I'm not sure quite when it got muted. A message just popped up, but we're talking about connecting with others. And if there's local community, otherwise online community, make sure that some way, somehow, socially, you are surrounding yourself with like-minded souls who also are on this path of, you know what, I'm going to figure out a positive way forward. Because when you connect with other people who are determined to reclaim their power in seasons of uncertainty like this, and then you can just have conversations and support each other and commit to lifting each other up when we start to drop, or shake someone out of autopilot when you see them. Make that commitment to each other. Say, if you see me go on autopilot and kind of go down the rabbit hole of negativity or whatever, wake me up, because y'all, this is time. It's time to wake up. Okay. 2020 happened. It's almost over. As a matter of fact, we are heading to the end of October. It happened, and all the things happened. Okay. The pandemic happened, is still happening, social injustice, and, all of the things that have, as many have said, made this kind of like the worst year on record. Okay. But if we're going to pave a positive path forward, I'll say that 5 times fast. If we're going to pave a positive path forward, we have to give up all hopes of a better past, because it's not about the past. It's about learning what we can to move forward into our future. So I highly encourage you to connect with others. Hopefully you have some close to you, maybe friend, family, but if not, there's a world out there. I'm right here. Connect with those who are also wanting to reclaim their power and move forward in a positive way. And then I just want to recommend what I always recommend with any kind of talk I give, workshop, program, whatever: Kaizen. Kaizen, I won't go into detail about what Kaizen is. Just know that it means this: progress, not perfection. And when you're on this kind of path of personal growth, which, by the way, in times like this, when we've had such a challenging season, when we have been kind of broken wide open, that is when personal growth, personal development can be the most beneficial. That is when it can take hold in the greatest of ways. And so I really encourage you, whether you're, reading books or listening to podcasts, positive music, whatever, we got to fuel our brain, because darkness is not the absence of light, or darkness is not the opposite of light. Darkness is the absence of light. So you've got to bring light into your experience on a regular basis. And I just encourage that you do that through other people, which is why they connect with others. But then also remember that Kaizen, because you know what? You're going to fall again. Okay. You may go the next 2 weeks feeling fantastic and being able to have this kind of optimistic realism within you. Like, yeah, I fully accept what's going on. I'm going to be realistic about it, but I know that we're going to be okay, and we're going to lock arms and all is well. And then you're going to have a bad moment, maybe even a bad day. And you've got to show yourself some grace and some compassion. And know that every single day, every single breath, because sometimes it's one day at a time, and sometimes it is one breath at a time. You pick yourself back up, you dust yourself off, and you begin again. That's it. So show yourself that compassion, that grace, and practice Kaizen. Just positive momentum forward, even if forward means 3 steps forward, 2 steps back, 2 steps forward, 1 step back. Like, it's still about progress over perfection, and we can always get back up. Always get back up and begin again. So with all these things in mind, I would be remiss if I did not share with you that over the course of November and December, I am going to be running my Inspired Life Project once again. I normally only run it once per year, and I did just run it in May for an amazing group of about 80 beautiful souls. But you know what? I feel like we need it. And I really, really want us to be able to close out this year on a more positive note and be prepared to move into 2021 with perhaps a fresh perspective, perspective if one is warranted. So the Inspired Life Project is actually a course I created for women. And the idea is to really do a deep dive. It's a six module program to do a deep dive on creating an understanding of the big picture and kind of how our energetic experience works and how our thoughts and our focus impact our experience, like we talked about a bit here. And then diving into the importance of creating a foundation for strong self-worth, because if you don't have a strong sense of self-worth, guess what? You're not going to do and take action on the things that ultimately will bring you to your happiest experience in life, because if you don't think you're worth it, why would you? So you'll continue to put all your focus on everyone else, and when ultimately you can be giving them the greatest gift, and that's taking great care of yourself, filling your cup so that it's overflowing so you can give from the overflow, expand your bandwidth to be able to be there for others. One of my favorite parts of working with women inside the Inspired Life Project is the fact that when they fill their cup, when they get that their soul fueled, then they're now in a better position to be a light in other people's lives, their family, friends, maybe clients and students that they work with. And so it's really an amazing experience. So what I'm doing in November and December, I'm going to be running 3 calls each month. So starting the first Wednesday in November, we'll be meeting at 4 o'clock but on the Wednesdays, 4 o'clock Pacific, which is 5 o'clock Mountain, 6 o'clock Central, and 7 o'clock East. And it's just for 1 hour. And each week we're going to be discussing, consider it like a support group. We're going to be discussing the module for that week. So 6 modules, 6 weeks of support meetings to go with it, so that we can actually not just view the program, which you could do anytime, but view the program, the modules, the videos, the learning, do the personal growth challenges, but then jump on Zoom, because as much as we'd love to be in a room together, it's not possible right now. And guess what? Video conferencing like Zoom is the next best thing to being in a room together. And we get to do it from all over. And that's such a gift. And we get to have conversations and share perspectives and give examples and ask questions and ask for clarity and gain support. So we have the 6 calls to match the 6 modules. If you go to inspiredwithkimberly.com/TILP, that's just the acronym for the Inspired Life Project. I'll put the link in the description, but it's just TILP. So inspiredwithkimberly.com/TILP. You can learn all about the program, and any registration option you choose, so whatever fits best for you, any registration option that you choose comes with the live support meetings. So keep in mind, any option you choose, you get access. You will get a link to join us on those Zoom meetings, because I really want us all to be able to come together and have this conversation. The caveat is that the registration has to happen by October 31st. So that is Halloween, next Saturday, a little less than a week from today, to take a look at it, see if it's a good fit for you. If you feel called to join us, awesome. If not, we'll continue to cross paths here somehow, so we can always support each other, because again, we're all in this together for sure. But if you feel called to join us for the Inspired Life Project, please do. It's always an amazing experience. And the reason I'm asking you to register by October 31st is to give you 4 days to be able to get the first module under your belt, to be able to log on and watch the first module before we have our first meeting on the following Wednesday. So that's the invitation I want to close out with, the Inspired Life Project. I'm so excited to lock arms with you, close out 2020 on a positive note, to remind ourselves that we're all in this together, and we can continue to support each other moving forward in a positive way, and create the kind of possibilities for a future that we can all be excited about and look forward to. So for those of you that are on with me live, so again, thank you, Mary Rose. Mary Rose, you've been on every week. God bless you. Thank you. Oh, I see Paulina and Jody. Thank you very, very much. I so appreciate you all. Your kind words are Your kind words are filling my cup, so thank you. I'm going to go back and read them again. But if you have any questions, don't hesitate to let me know. Whether you're joining me live or you're catching the replay later, thank you. Thank you for just tuning in and giving some of your time and attention to an important topic, our willingness and our ability to rise and shine when it's been a challenging season. So thank you. Let me know how I can support you. Look into the Inspired Life Project, see if it's a fit for you. If it feels like a fit, if it speaks to you in any way, join me so that we can come together on the Zoom meetings in November and December and have those really important conversations that are going to set us forward on a positive path. But just know that until our paths cross again, I am sending you so much love that you can't even imagine. Take care.